Or you can even look at that whiteboard, whatever you want to do. I'm going to ask you 3 times what color this is. It's not a trick question. This is white, right? That's all I need you to say back.
Mhm.
You all ready? What color is this screen?
White.
What color is this screen?
White.
What color is this screen?
White.
What the cows drink?
Milk.
Are you sure? So within seconds, you got programmed to think cow, white, milk immediately like that. You know, because a calf may drink milk, but a cow drinks water. So think of how the world does that to us within seconds. So here's another one. How many different ways do you think you can write the term 3 degrees below zero? There's probably hundreds, right? But could you do it like this? 3 degrees below zero. Right. It's outside the box thinking. How about if you put your hands together, try this one. Put your hands together like this. Notice what thumb is on top. Now take your hands apart, put your other thumb on top. How does that feel? Odd. It's odd, right? Do it with your arms. Cross your arms. Now go the other way. How's that feel?
Weird.
Living a life that where you follow God and Christ specifically is gonna be odd. It's gonna feel different in a sense of like, because in my core, I may feel like, hey, this is a moment where I should pray for people, but what is everybody gonna think? You know what I mean? It's like me putting the other thumb on top. It doesn't feel right in that moment, at least to me. That's my experience. No matter how hard I work on myself, there'll be times where it's like, hey, yeah, this is not too long ago, I actually went and saw a lady who's dying, and her son sitting on the bed looked at me and said, "This is no place for God." And because I had every intention to go over and have the conversation like, hey, I just want to ask if you've been saved or not. And he made it clear that if I go down that road, there is hostility will unfold. And it's like those moments of battle in your head. It's like, what is the right thing for me to do here? You know what I mean? It's like, is it to honor what they're asking me, or is it to push forward with, my agenda, so to speak?
Mhm.
So it's stuff like that. I think we have to realize that is our faith in this world alone is oftentimes going to spur that awkward feeling, that uncomfortable feeling to do the right thing sometimes. So let me ask you this one. Who is Casper? Who is Casper? Who is Casper?
Friendly ghost.
What do you put in the toaster?
Toast, bread.
I'm on to your trick. Yeah. But that's the whole point. So I teach this to the clients all the time. It's like, we just respond to life. You know what I mean? We do not stop and think through and hear the whisper of what God may be trying to actually tell us. Because at times I think I know what I'm supposed to do. And granted, based on what the world says, that is what I'm supposed to do. But have you ever heard a whisper that went totally against that? You're like, oh, well, that is not okay, right? Like, now you're going to put me on that list. So how about this last one? If I gave you this, how do you make this a 6 without moving these numbers? That is, right? So you see, I told you, give you the Roman numerals, then I use the term, how do you move it without, how do you make a 6 without changing the numbers?
Stand on your head.
Automatically, well, that still wouldn't change it. Yeah, because you still wouldn't do it, because you gotta have, well, think about it, Roman numeral 6 is not that.
Yeah, let me know.
Yeah, you'd be having, now you got a B, so it's, no matter how we try to manipulate it, at the end of the day, we can get programmed so easy. And so when I look at my life and I heard the True Coffee Bean story, which I encourage all of y'all, because I can't do it justice, to go listen to it on YouTube. You type in Ed Milet, Damon West, and you'll see it pop up. It's like a green, he's got like green lines on the screen. But this guy, his name's Damon West. He is from Texas, and so he was one of us. He was running and gunning, all that kind of stuff, but he grew up in a pretty normal family. Didn't want for anything. He was a top level football star, made it up into collegiate, athlete, got hurt, got injured, turned him into the pain meds, and things started to spiral on him. But even when they spiraled, he was working on Wall Street. He worked for one of the guys running for president. He doesn't name who it is, but he tells you about all these things that he was way up there while he was getting high. Well, then all of a sudden he got introduced to methamphetamine, and he went completely off the rail, and he turned into what's called the uptown bandit or burglar, out in Texas, Dallas, Texas. And so they're after him all the time. He tells a story. He's sitting in his apartment, and all of a sudden, with his dope dealer, and all of a sudden the doors cave in. Dallas SWAT's on him, and he calls it being plucked by a group of angels out of life, because he was going to die. And so he gets plucked out. He goes down to jail. They get him in court, and he does a trial because he committed a ton of crimes, robberies, nonviolent. Nobody was home when he did it. Doesn't make it any better, but he never had a criminal history, none of this. He's in court, and he's sitting there, and the judge, 6 days is the criminal trial. That's a pretty long criminal trial for his crimes. It should have happened pretty quick. So he's like asking his attorney, what's the issue? What's taking so long? She says, look, you better get ready, because we just heard the jury ask the judge if they could give you life in prison. He's like, what? Life in prison for some robberies, So the judge walks in, and he's like, beats on the gavel, Damon Joseph West, the state of Texas sentences you to 65 years in Texas federal prison, or maximum security prison. He's going to the worst prison in the state of Texas. And this is where killers are at. And so his mom's a wreck, his dad's a wreck, and his mom, she's a nurse, and he talks about it. She's a trauma nurse, and she's telling him, like, look, what I'm telling you is you got to go into that prison. You got to do your time. 2 things you cannot do is you can't join a white hate group, can't join a gang, and you can't get any tattoos. If you don't come out of there as the man we raised, don't ever come out at all. You know what I mean? And that's coming from a mom. That's hard to hear. You get ready to do 65 years in prison, So he goes into county before he's getting shipped off to the max prison. And all these people, he's trying to figure out a way to survive, because he's this white middle class dude he never had issues, right? And see, prison is all about one thing: race. That's what it's about. And for him, white folks in prison are the minority. It's blacks, Hispanics, and then the whites. And so they're the minority, and he knows that. And so everybody's saying, dude, when you go in, the only way you survive is you get into a white hate group. That's the only way you're going to survive this. There is no other way. So ultimately, he's going around, and everybody's telling him that, but this one guy, he calls him Mr. Jackson. Mr. Jackson's coming up to his cell every day with this huge smile on his face and saying, hey, Damon, remember what you promised your mom? So he finally goes to Mr. Jackson. He's like, hey, how am I supposed to go into prison and not get involved in this and survive? Right? And so Mr. Jackson says, well, listen, prison is like a pot of boiling water. And he's like, you got 3 options. You can go in there, that's a carrot, an egg, or a coffee bean. He's like, you can go in, and prison being that pot of boiling water, you can go in all hard and tough and unrelenting like a carrot is, how stiff it is. Go in, and guess what's going to happen to you when you get in there? it's gonna soften you. It's gonna weaken you. So like you go in as a hard egg, you go in with this outer shell, but you got this malleable heart. But guess what hot boiling water does to that egg? It will turn your heart into a level of hate. You will never be able to love again, is what he told me. It'll be impossible. He's like, or you can choose to be a coffee bean. And so what happens to when you throw coffee beans into hot boiling water? What happens to the water?
To the coffee.
Turns into coffee. So it becomes the change agent. Nothing happens to the bean. It actually impacts the environment that it's been placed in. And in fact, the hotter it is, the more adversity it faces, the more aroma comes from that bean. And so he tells him, you got to go be a coffee bean. You got to go in the prison. Damon's like, what is wrong with this guy? You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to go into prison and I'm going to die and all this. So then he goes on to tell him, says, look, this is how you do this. Is when you walk into prison, the first thing that's going to happen to you is this little white guy tattooed up from the white Aryan gangs, whatever, hate gangs there. He's coming to you. You need to get him out of your face as quick as possible. He's like, the next thing that's going to happen is a bigger white hate guy is coming, and he's coming to beat you across that prison. And he's like, then after you fight them, you will have to fight the blacks, and then you have to fight the Hispanics. And once you win all those fights, you will gain your freedom. Or you fight all those fights. And he's very clear. He's like, you're not going to win. And Damon talks about it. He's like, look, I maybe won 25% of the fights that I had to fight in prison, but I fought every one of them. And that was a key point, is you have to show up and fight for what you value, what you want in life. So he goes in, sure enough, the first person he meets is this tiny little white guy, tattooed up. He even says his eyelids are tattooed, with hate stuff. And he's like, yo, man, what family are you going to run with? And Damon's like, look, I don't run with any family. I run with God. And he starts laughing at him, says, dude, we kicked God out of here a long time ago. He doesn't exist here. And so he disappears. And the next is a big corn-fed white dude, swastika on his face, coming down. And Damon knocks him right in the face out of the gate. And the next thing he knows, he gets beat all up and down the prison. And so he went through that with the white hate groups and got his freedom from them. Then he had to fight the blacks, and the blacks fought on the basketball court. So he'd go out and play ball with them. He's on a team of 5, but guess what? That 5 would turn against him. So now it's 9-on-1, and they beat him up and down the court. And so he got his freedom there. His last battle was with the Hispanics, and the guy was coming into a jail shower and he's known to have knives and all that and be like an expert with that. He's going to come in the shower, rape him, and kill him. So, and he's talking to his roommate about all this stuff. And so his roommate's like, dude, you have to fight this battle. You have no choice. And so he tells him, he's like, here's a inside, they give him like an inside of a clock. And this guy's reading his Bible every day, all that kind of stuff. Then, he walks you through it, how he's connected to God and all that. He goes from reading Proverbs to plotting how he's going to kill this guy because he has no choice. Imagine the conflict that a follower is facing when you're at that crossroads. Of like, I'm in an environment where I'm either got to stand up and do this or I will die. And so he takes the sock. He's got the clock motor inside. And sure enough, I forget the guy's name. When he sticks his head in, Damon just wails on him. And by the grace of God, he didn't kill him. But he beat him to an inch of his life, and they stopped it. But Damon won his freedom. And so he went on and stayed in prison 7 years, 9 months, I believe, and became that coffee bean. And was going around, had his pure freedom, going around talking about God. He's got involved in AA, all that kind of stuff within prison. And again, listen to his story, it's phenomenal. But he talked about towards the end, when he went in front of parole, they literally sat him down and said, listen, what is it you're trying to do here? Because we've never seen this happen in this environment. This environment crushes people's soul, but you've come alive. What is it? And he told them the story of the coffee bean. And like, this is what I'm just trying to be helpful and of service to other people, be an impact on other people in that hostile environment. Well, this guy had 65 years sentenced in prison and he got out after 7 years and 9 months. So he goes on to leave prison and so he's out. He remember Damon is like a top level football player, all this. So he's like, what do I do now? You know, and he got a job with one of his buddies, and then all of a sudden he had this coffee bean story he wanted to share with the world. Well, he ends up going to a like a coaches thing where they're doing the coach of the year, and you got Dabo Sweeney and all them. I think it was the year Dabo, then they beat like Alabama or something like that. So he's going around to all these coaches pitching his story. Let me come talk to your team. Blah, blah, blah. They all say no, 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 no. He even tells it he's like hiding behind bushes trying to get the Dabo to pop out and be like, hey, you know. So he finally gets to Dabo. He shares the story, and Dabo just says, hey, well, give me one of your cards. So he gets the card, leaves. Damon's like, I left it all on the table. I did what God called me to do. I left it on the table. So he goes out, he's doing his job. All of a sudden, he gets this phone call from Dabo Sweeney's people. It's like 2 months later or 4 months, something like that. Hey, we'd love to have you come down on this Friday, speak to the team. Are you available? And Damon's like, yeah, of course I'm available. Like, whatever I got going on, I'll put it on the side to come make that happen. And so that kicked off a career for Damon in speaking. He got connected up with John Gordon. Most of y'all probably heard of John Gordon if you're in faith. He wrote all kinds of really good books, but he helped write the Coffee Bean book. Now, it doesn't tell the story this way. It's like cleaned up. It's not like a grandfather and his grandson versus Damon being in prison and having to go through all this. But the impact that it's had on, heck, even me, I've told this story for probably 8 years now and never knew where it came from until probably 1.5 years, 2 years ago. I didn't know the origin. I always told it in the sense of a girl and her mom and adversity and coming in. So the way I look at it, though, is, and this is Damon now, he goes all over the country, speaks, is he was faced with a set of adversities that he had to get through no matter what, and had to develop a different identity. Now, in our industry, as most of you guys know, it has gotten to one that you get into, I think, at least me, you get into to give back, like to be fulfilled. But this is what we often end up like. Is you ever felt tired? And I'm not talking physical. You know what I mean? I'm talking that rest that you need that no amount of sleep is going to give you. It's my question is, how do we get there? And so what I want to do real quick, if I can get a volunteer and borrow a chair. Is anybody sitting in that chair?
No. I guess I volunteer myself.
Okay. Now, there you go. So let's say, and I can probably turn them now. If you guys want to see this, maybe. So Ty is, let's just say Ty's a professional in this field. He got into it because, man, he's sober. He loves helping people, all that kind of stuff. Feeling great about himself. He's got this just innocence about him, just this life that he wants to bring to people. What are some things that happen in our industry that you guys know about, relate to, have had happened to you that start to get you to this?
Unreasonable caseload, maybe?
So he's, Ty is authentic. He's got all this energy. All of a sudden, he's given this unreasonable caseload of people. He's taking care of people. He's given this unreasonable. And Ty's like, man, that's cool. I love helping people. I'm going to help as many as I can. That's my goal. Keep pouring it on, right? Says, you know, by the end of the day, now Ty's hair is like kind of flipped to the side because he comes in all put together, but by the end, he's got so much going on. He's starting to feel that. What else happens to us? And it can be doesn't have to be as a therapist. It can be BD rep, an executive, whatever.
Loss of clients, literally.
All right. Start to die, clients die. So clients start to die that you're trying to help. And you just continue to, hey, truck on. I gotta get out there because even though the clients die, I'm a BD rep. I got a quota I gotta hit. You know what I mean? I gotta hit this number. So now I've got to hit these numbers and a caseload, it's still, man, it feels like the numbers are going down, but the caseload still feels heavy. What happened? What else have y'all experienced?
Not good enough.
What?
Not good enough.
All right, feeling not good enough, or has it been like an employer tell you that?
Performance can be bad.
Okay. Self-imposed negative thinking. So you start to lose that fire maybe you had. Now you don't think as fast. You got all these different things happening to you. And it continues on. So we got that. What else do y'all experience?
Make our job our recovery.
Okay, that's a good one. So you start to make the job your recovery. I feel like we've all done that at some point. So now I've made my job my recovery. What else?
Having your success or failure be based on your client's success or failure.
Okay. My success based on client's success. How about some of the ones a lot of people don't want to really talk about? Is, well, you know, I work for this company and I just moved to Buckhead, right? And not literally, I would not, nothing against people in Buckhead. I just moved to Buckhead though, and you know, I got life's more expensive, and there's an opportunity that, oh, my role, I can go into this role where they pay bonuses for admissions. So now I start to flirt the line of, is this client even appropriate for that facility? But I gotta get that number. You know what I mean? Because I just bought a G-Wagon, whatever it is you buy, you know. So we start to violate our own ethics or the ethics of the industry, so to speak. I've experienced ones of at high levels of, hey, we need to cut staff and increase census. So now you're flirting with, well, we already run lean. Now this feels totally unsafe. Right? And even though you're still within range of what the state requirements are and all that, it still doesn't feel right. But you do it anyway. Because, hey, what it's I quit or I pull the trigger and do the thing, right? And so am I gonna put my family up against that? So we make yet another decision. And then where does faith come into play in all this? You ever had lost what you normally would stood up for or said something about, and you lose that faith? You do something against, and you know the guilt that you feel. I think it's worse than anything I ever did getting high is being sober and hearing the voice of God say, hey, you know you shouldn't have done that. And it's like, God, That's things, right? So we start to have those experiences. And what do you notice has happened to good old Ty that got into this industry? Just man, full of life, authentic, just himself on the line. What's happened to him?
Don't recognize him.
Yeah.
Looks like Beatles used to ride.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to breathe in here. I didn't expect that.
Did you just hear what he said?
Yeah.
Have you ever felt that? That weight. This is getting hard to breathe. Now, let alone you can't see any. It's unclear. And see, people of faith, I think we battle this experience a lot more because we know the solution, we have the out, and we know where it is, yet we allow the world to dictate the circumstance that we're in. We aren't the coffee bean. I've been the carrot, I've been the egg, and I've been the coffee bean at times. It's not a, hey, I'm gonna just be this all the time. It is a hard thing to fight through and get to the end. So thank you, Cal. Let you out so you don't suffocate. All right. So I want you to kind of sit and be with that experience and think about, are you there now? Because I've had that. Because a lot of us, we talk about burnout and different things of that nature. And what I've experienced is I only get burnout when I experience this thing. When I allow, and I'm going to talk about it, I allow true authentic self to get covered up by things that it doesn't need to be covered up by. And that's how Thoroughbred even got started, was I got to this space under what I was under, the weight. It just was not the dream. And I kept telling myself, maybe it's just my time to tap out of this work. I've been going hard in the paint for 20 years. Maybe it's my time to walk. But the crazy part about it was God was saying, no, listen, in fact, what I'm calling you to do is double down and put it all on the line, work even harder than what you're currently working. And let's see where that goes, because this is going to be all about you having faith in what you've dreamed of doing and not what somebody else is trying to get you to create. And so it was different. It was a different thing for me to experience that, and I had never done that. So how do we get out of, or how do we feel that slot again? Here's what I've found work for me, is I got to look at three things: my mindset, my heart set, and my soul set. So as you go through this, you got to bring them back into play. As you go through this, I want you to kind of think of your mindset is really more about the psychological stuff going on with you, versus you look at heart set is going to be about the work you do. And it's not your job. It's about your life's work, what you're going out and truly experiencing. And your soul set is truly about your spirit and your soul and what you're supposed to be out in the world becoming. Because there's a difference. And I was working with a coach 2 days ago that just rattled my cage. I never spoke to this lady before in my life. And she, in 10 minutes, dead stopped me and said, hey, you're tired, aren't you? And I was like, what? Because I was jacked up on caffeine too. I was rattling going on. And I was like, what do you mean? You know, and she's like, I just feel it. And she's a person of faith. And she's like, God's telling me to tell you that you're tired. You need some rest. And I went on to say, well, in Proverbs, you know what they say about rest? You know, you sit around long enough, you'd be poor and broke. You know, that whole, she's like, well, that's not the rest that he's talking. And it took me a minute to start to wrap my mind around what she said. She's like, look, you rest with God can be in movement. It's like, I rest in God while I hike. It's like, so there's different ways. It's like, but you don't even know what that looks like for your life. You are a do, have, be guy, or a have, do, be guy, because that's what the world has told you have to be or do, instead of be, do, have. And it shocked me, because I was like, we all chase what we want by doing maybe I'll have it, and then I'll be this, this, and this. And I know intellectually that I can be what I'm looking down the road, I can be that now. But it's so hard to separate from the materialism of the world. It's like, well, if I only have these things, then I'll be that. And so I have to start working these again. But a coach I worked with walked me through some of these questions that I want you guys to look at. Is one, do you suffer from next level syndrome? And here's kind of the statements. It's, I'm at the next level, but it isn't good enough. I'm not there and want to be there yesterday. I'm not there and I'm trying to tell myself just to be grateful. And this is key because this happened to me. Gratitude can be one of the most deadly things to your spiritual growth. Believe it or not. Because you ever hear, we say it to each other all the time. You come and you're like, man, I just feel like I can do this, and your sponsor say, hey, man, why don't you just be grateful for what you got right now? And so I tried that. I tried to just be grateful that I had a job. I worked for a large organization. I was taken care of. I tried, and it suffocated me. Gratitude suffocated me because I was sitting there telling myself, just be grateful for this company, be grateful you got, and I could not get there. And my trying to be grateful started to make me resentful. And so at times I think we have to be careful that gratitude is got its own lane in certain aspects, but I don't have to be okay with whatever level I can push myself, encourage myself, become a better version of you. And that's why I use a coach. And you always hear therapists should have therapists. You hear that all the time. I don't think that's true. I think unless they really got to do some different work. Therapists need coaches. We all need coaches because a coach will push you to the next level. Therapists tend to want to just sit, listen to what you're saying, and try to empathize with you. I need a coach that will not empathize with me and tell me, hey, you need to get focused on your faith and the principles and what you believe, and now go forward in the world. Don't sit back and relax and, oh, I'm tired of this and I'm tired of that. And let's talk. And are you depressed? No, you have to get principle focused and go out and carry that message to the world, whatever that is. So the next one, I'm not there. Say that I don't want to be there, but really do. And then I judge everybody else that's there. Have you ever done that? I do it all the time. It's like, man, look, he's got that new Range Rover. Yeah, I guarantee you though, he's cutting corners, doing this, that, and the other, what I mean? All those kind of things. And Deacon says, like, dude, I would love to be in a space where I could go do that. But you don't know the person's story. But we all kind of will do that to ourselves. Now, here's another question in the mindset range. Guaranteed that you couldn't fail, what work would you choose to go do, and whom would you choose to do that work with? Because see, for me, I was at this organization and I started to say, God, why do I not want to go to work? After 20 years of loving to get up, go and do my thing, I don't even want to go. I don't deal with anything. I started to not want to work with any other alcoholic or addict on the outside. It's like I'm tired of dealing with people's problems. So what I deal with all day. And the people around me, some were different, but what I realized was the work that I'm supposed to do is a creative. That's what I'm built to do is go and create. Doesn't mean treatment centers or whatever, but I'm a creative. You give me ideas and let me run with it. Well, I got in an environment where it started to happen. And I couldn't see that in the moment. And when my creativity got pushed down and told, no, can't think like that, can't do it that way, blah, blah, I started to suffocate. And as you can see, the people I choose whom I do the work, I brought them with me when I left. And we're on fire for what we're doing. Because we come together, we all have the same idea of what we want to do with ourselves, what we want to do in this industry, all that kind of stuff, and then move it forward. So you have to ask yourself these questions to really start to shift your mindset. Now, heart set. The heart set questions are this: what guilt, shame, or regret do you carry? You literally have to think through this and list those out. List them out. And when I say list them out, I mean list them all out, because you all have it. And they're holding you back from something. God doesn't want you to carry that stuff. He wants you to look at it, address it, and kind of move forward. 2 days ago, my 15-year-old daughter, she's I don't know how she got it, but she's like on fire for God. She does Bible studies on TikTok. I didn't make her go to church or anything. She just wants to go. She's got these little groups, all that. I'm sitting over there in the van having this conversation because I call her. She's getting ready to go shopping with her friends. She's like, "Oh yeah," and I said, "Well, you still got the money from last week to go shopping?" She's like, "Yeah, I still got it." We hang up. Then my youngest daughter texts me, "Will you send me and Riley our allowance?" I'm like, "Well, that's weird," because my 9-year-old has no access to, she doesn't have like Cash App or anything like that. So I'm thinking, why is she all of a sudden texting me wanting money? So I call her and I'm like, "Hey, honey, what's going on? Why do you want money? Because you can't even access it right now." She's like, "I don't know, just send us our allowance." And wouldn't get it straight. It's like, "Honey, I need you to tell me what's going on." And she's like, "Well, Riley asked me to text you for the money." So then I call my 15-year-old back. It's like, "Hey, why'd you tell Charlie to text for your allowance? I thought you said you had money and I could just given it to you." And she's like, "I didn't." And I knew in that moment. Like, and my daughter doesn't lie. I couldn't tell you, looking back at I couldn't tell you when she lied last. And that moment I had a decision. It's like, do I show up as myself, Dad, or do I let God enter and have a conversation that lowers the energy? Because I could tell she's like, "Oh God, he's disappointed. How's this going to go?" Because I don't yell at my kids, don't discipline, all that. And I had a deep conversation with her about, "Honey, these are the things that the world and the devil will do. They'll put money in front of you to cause issues within relationships. And it's okay. Like, you're a human and you'll make mistakes. And I want you to know that it's okay. I don't feel any certain way about it. I'm proud of you for finally getting honest about it. But I can watch her 2 days later, she's still carrying that weight. And that sucks because I can't take it all of her. She's got to work through that piece. And I know she doesn't where it took me in my own life. And as professionals and people who follow God, we have an obligation to do this. Because he doesn't want us to carry that. He doesn't want us, because to me, my sponsor said to me one time, "If you look and have regrets at your life, then you almost are insulting God for what he's done in your life up until this point." Because he took all that and used it for what you got now. So there should be no regret if you've made resolution about it. Ask yourself finally, how are they holding you back? Because they are definitely doing that within you. And then finally, soul set questions. If you had to give one last talk before you died, what would you say to the world? What would you go out and say? And I did the exercise. I had a coach that had me do this, and it was compelling to say the least. It was hard to write it, but here's kind of what I came up with for my one last talk. Because here's the thing: is you've been told that you're not able to go tell anybody else, but you've been told you're going to die in a week. What are you going to say to the world as you go out? The interactions you have with each other, your kids, family, whatever it may be. And here's kind of what I wrote. Hopefully I get through it well. To those listening to this, I want you to know you're free to be yourself, and in being so, you will light up the world in ways you never knew possible. In being yourself, you will display the reflection that God intended you to mirror upon his people. In being yourself, you will be able to take the road less traveled despite what others may say, because what will matter the most is what you say about yourself. On this path, God will be there with you despite times where you may not feel his presence. He will always provide you with strength, the strength needed to do what is right and honorable, but will also leave the decision on you what to do. Choose wisely, consider what is true comfort and what true comfort feels like. If you cannot see it in your future, then it has no place in your present. Get rid of the distractions as soon as you can identify them. They only cause you to further internal anguish and confusion, which will keep you playing small. Love and believe in the person in the mirror by striving to become the best version of yourself possible. That doesn't mean the acquisition of external obsessions. It means the elimination of your internal conditions. As Jim Quick has said, if an egg is broken by an outside force, life ends. If an egg is broken by an inside force, life begins. Be bold, be authentic, and be determined. This will allow you to play big in life and take risks. Carve out a living you love and not one others simply respect. Your greatness does not come from what you achieve or what others think of you. It comes from your display of faith in God and in yourself. Love the human experience, empathize with the human condition, articulate with grace your human understanding, and dare others to be great. In doing so, you will bring out the best in them. You will learn to love them, connect with them, and help them develop a powerful confidence in who they are and the courage to display that to the world. If you can live like this, you will have experienced a life with little regret. You will be proud of the legendary journey you will have taken. And most of all, you will look forward to going home to give an account to God for the person that you've become. So that's the soul set that we've got to tap into. In the work you do, is your message coming out of you every day? Or is it simply a job that you go to? Because I think we're in something more than an industry, we're in a ministry. And it's a different, for me anyway, you have to take a different approach. Like I hear you guys talking a lot about what the church and church. For me, my view on it is it's not the church's job to understand this or deal with it. It's our job to do that. It's my job to go into the church and let them know I'm a resource if they ever need somebody to talk to or do the talking or whatever. But to convince them of what we do is the right way to do it, or it's not, shouldn't be this or shouldn't be that. I mean, really, how has that worked over the last 2,000 years with religion and whatever else? It just doesn't, right? So to me, we're angels of this industry, and we got to go into churches and just say, hey, I'm a resource for you. If they want to be taught about it, 100% go ahead and do that. But I don't go into church and try to get them to see all the people in the community here that are struggling. You need to teach this, you need to do that. I still do that. So here's what I'd ask you all to do is if you ever can do it, take a piece of paper. I want you to look at it this way. This is how I ended up leaving the job I was at. You just take a sheet and put a quadrant on it like this, and you're going to put priorities, distractions, plan small, plan big. And if you can get brutally honest with yourself and you write down what are your true priorities, what are the true distractions, what does it look like for Ty to play small, what does it look like for Ty to play big? And so when I did this quadrant, I had no other choice but to leave the job I had and invest everything I had into what we're doing here, because this told me that was my only option. I had a gun business. I had to give that all of it away. Everything has to go. My entire priority was chasing a dream that I feel like God instilled in me that I've tried to shy away from and accept. The journey I was on was only to teach me. And at one point, there's a couple that I had jump off points that I didn't have the courage to jump. And in this moment, when I did this, it was that last, God said, look, I've came and I've knocked. multiple times and you've not listened, this is the last time I'm coming. And it was, hey, I went to my wife, I'll never forget, and I said, listen, I've decided I'm quitting my job. I need you to quit your job, and we're just going all in on this. We can live about a year and then we're screwed. But we're all in. And that's the way I've lived life for the last year. It literally has been a day-to-day. There's been days I wake up and I remember 3 days after I did that, I'm in, or after I left the facility, I'm in a bathroom in Hiwassee meeting with some people, and I just hired a medical director. And I never had a panic attack. I have a full-on panic attack in a bathroom, while I'm trying to use the bathroom. Like, God, I'm having a freaking heart attack right now. Did I just agree to pay a guy with money I don't have yet? You know what I mean? So it was like all this started to unfold for me. And what I realized was, this is what living what I call the back pocket dream is about. Because I've got what's in my front left pocket. I got what's in my front right pocket that I'll talk to you guys about. I'll pull it out, show you. We'll have that conversation, right? This coach said, well, look, I understand what you've came from and I understand what you do now, but what was it you wanted to do as a kid? What was that dream? Because I don't know what age it is for all of us, but we lose that. We lose that part of ourselves somewhere. And I always wanted to play pro baseball. That was a dream. I just always wanted to. I love the grass. I love being on the field. I just wanted to play pro ball. And I felt so stupid bringing it up at 42 years old at the time. You know what I mean? And I'm sitting there talking about it, and he's acknowledging, yeah, you're way too old to play. But what he did was he said this. He said, listen, what I want you to do is write down the 10 qualities and value system that guy would have had to have to become the pro ball player you desired to be. What would that look like? And so I started writing those. And I wrote those qualities down. And when I started realizing, holy crap, that's a pretty good dude right there. And in fact, that's a direct reflection of the spiritual principles God has instilled in me to become as a man. Because again, it was about doing versus being. And this coach helped me see that being is so much more important, because it's not about me being a pro ball player. That's what I do. It was about me becoming this man, because all of y'all have those. You have more than that, but we all, I know, have 10 spiritual principles that God has instilled in you to go carry to this world. I don't know what they are for you. I wrote down my 10. Then I started to have to define what each one of those is, because if you Google courage, for example, you're going to get a generic definition. The thing about it is you have to come up with your own definition, because it's got to be meaningful to you. You cannot use your phone, all that, to decide, here's what it's going to mean. You got to decide what it means to you. And then he had me start to meditate on those words, and I saw myself acting that stuff out. And I would rotate through the months of 3, 3, and 4 and try to work myself into becoming that man. So it was part of the top 3 for me, was what we've established here at Thoroughbred, is being bold, brave, and authentic. I was never that. I may have looked that way to certain people, but when I played ball, I was never that. I was a guy, I go to talent showcases all over the country, and I would hide. I'm there to be looked at, but I'm terrified to put myself out there. So I was never bold and brave and authentic. And so what it meant for me to change myself in order to change this industry was to tap into that back pocket dream. Who's that kid that wants that dream? What would he have to become to actually achieve it? And throughout your all's careers, maybe you're way ahead of me, but throughout most of our careers, I coach a lot of people in this industry. We get watered down and beat down and covered up by scarves, and we deal with crushing situations that we allow to determine who we've become. And for me, in this industry, I think it's time we got to start to change some of that.
To get into the content of the book, crushing, gut turns pressure into power. And I was thinking how last time you were here, you wrote soar.
Yeah.
SOAR. Just like eagles on the cover. And it's like,
Yeah.
And now we're on crushing.
Yeah.
So what happens?
One is not diabolically opposed to the other. For the eagle, soar is about flying, but for the eaglet, soar is about falling. If the eagle stirs her nest and the eaglets are pushed out of the comfort of their nest, is that not crushing? If their food supply is now cut off and they are pushed out by their own mother to fall off the side of a cliff, is that not crushing? Why would mama do that to me? Why would mama not feed me? And in the process of the eaglet falling, flapping its wings in hysteria, it is the thing that crushed the eaglet that causes it to stop. The whole value of crushing is to explain to people not to be confused when the crushing precedes a soaring. Because a lot of times, if we only tell you about soaring and we don't tell you about crushing, when something crushing happens in your life, it looks like what we preach is not true. Whereas crushing is the process and soaring is the promise. You cannot have promise without process. And we live in a time where people preach more about the promises and less about the process. You are going home and dealing with marital issues, children who won't obey or comply, a sister who doesn't like you, a father who always preferred the other sister or daughter, and you said, how is my life in such shambles? Never realizing that those that God is going to anoint the most, he always crushes the most severe. The problem we have today is that people want a success for which they have not been groomed for. Success that you have not been groomed for is like birthing a baby prematurely. The chances of survival go down the earlier the baby is exposed. And to be exposed too soon is not a blessing, it's a curse. You don't want anything before it's time. Nothing before it's time. There's a time and a season for every purpose under heaven. The first time I went to the mic to preach, my hands were shaking so bad that when I held the mic, I was nervous when I picked it up, but when I knew that they could see that I was nervous, that made it worse. So it was kind of like a tambourine or something. So the next time I had them adjust the height of the mic. I didn't quit preaching. I had them adjust the height of the mic and put my hands behind my back so they couldn't see my hands. And I preached the first 5 or 10 minutes with my hands behind my back until enough anointing came. Because when the anointing comes, the fear goes. And then I took the mic and started preaching. You cannot let your fear hold you back from your destiny. You have to feel the fear and do it anyway. Do it broke, do it scared, do it nervous, do it suddenly, do it on your knees, do it with help, do it on crutches, do it in a wheelchair because you only end up in a nursing home sitting on a bedpan wondering what would have happened if you'd only had more courage. I was doing research for my book and I found out that the same part of the brain that processes physical pain processes emotional pain. So my brain doesn't know whether my heart is broken or whether you stabbed me in the leg. The same part of the cerebellum that sends the message that you're in pain is just as intense about a broken heart as it is about a stabbed leg. You understand? So all of a sudden I'm in trauma, but there's no paramedic because I'm not bleeding. I'm not being crushed on the outside where you could put a tourniquet on it and send me to the emergency room. I'm being crushed in my heart. I'm being crushed by failed expectations. I'm being crushed by the fact that I'm older now and I thought I would be further than I am and I am not. God has a whole lot of ways to crush you. I'm being crushed by bankruptcy. I'm being crushed by disappointment. I'm being crushed because I love somebody who won't love me back. I'm being crushed because I have a child who disrespects me. There are all kinds of ways for you to be crushed in places that people don't see, and it affects you like you are being stabbed. This trauma of the soul cannot be treated in the hospital. This trauma of the soul, this secret crushing that God allows us to go through sometimes in our life are beyond explanation. And yet there's not a person in this room, young or old, black or white, rich or poor, intellectual or illiterate, who escapes it. You cannot live in this world and not leave what I'm talking about. You cannot live in this world and not leave. Nothing in your life is going to be what God uses to crush you. But remember that crushing is not the end. My scripture said, I want you to go tell my people that crushing is a stage, it's not a destination. Some people take on a pathology of pain and they make the crushing their address. And they live in what should have been a stage. And no matter what you do, you cannot pull them out of it because pain becomes their normal. They will provoke you till you fight them. They will push you away till you reject them because it is the thing that they are most familiar with. And they don't understand that they self-sabotage their success. You're not fighting a demon. You're not fighting the devil. You are fighting the fact that you have become so accustomed to pain that it is your place of residence. And I challenge you today to shatter your way out, to break your way out. If you can't get out the door, come out the window. Challenge you today. Some people need you to be there because they have built a system around your pain. And they have created jobs around your dysfunction, and they don't want you to get well. Because if you got well, they're afraid that they might not be important to you. And sometimes it's not in their interest for you to recover. I call it crushing. One case, I'm gonna be honest with you, this subtitle really is for the publishing world. My title really was crushing is not the end. Because the substratum of the book is really about not getting stuck in the stage and deteriorating and rotting and giving up on yourself and your dreams.
So as Christ followers, if you really look at his life, he carried a message so firmly, so gracefully, but so forcefully that he died for it, right? And so it's like I have to look at myself in this world, not just this industry, and it's like, what message am I trying to carry on a daily basis that actually invokes people to almost not like me to an extent? Because I tell clients all the time, my job is to disturb you. I want to disturb something on the inside of you that makes you mad at me for something. And I think that's what we got to do in this industry. It's like I realized my crushing was the environment that I got put in at the end. And that was the only way I was able to leave. And because I tried to be a coffee bean in that environment. But I quickly became an egg, and it was like, I've got to find a way out. And that was how it all happened for me. So as y'all go forward and look at your own lives, this industry, to me, this is what I wrote kind of thinking on this, is the greatest act of self-love is for you to chase the vision that you have for your life. We talk about self-love of going home, watching some Netflix, relaxing. I think there's so much more to self-care than that. that is a physical rest, but I have Graham right now, I've not physically rested in like a year, it feels like. And I am alive and on fire because the self-love of chasing a dream, chasing a vision that I think God gave me at about 6 months sober, that one day I want to do this. One day I want to create environments, not treatments, just cultures and environments people walk into that they feel different about it. Like, holy crap, this is different. I don't want to just see myself succeed. I want to see Ty, Graham, Tate, all these people chase something that's a vision that they have for their own life. Because at the end of my day, I want to be able to look up and you ever see a guy on Facebook, it's like, if you could sit down and have a cup of coffee with Jesus, what would you ask him? And I want to be able to look at, did I exhaust it? Did I do a good job? Did I give everything I had in honor of you that was inside of me to chase a dream? Because it's not just, I don't think God has me here to share Jesus's message. He has me here to share my message that he's given me. Andy's got a message. Graham's got a message. Do you have the courage to go share? We spend a ton of time, and I'm not pointing anybody in the room, I'm just saying the industry, and I've shot videos on it. We talk so much trash about each other and what so-and-so's over here doing. Hey, did you hear what them? You know what I mean? I don't care what anybody else is doing because my job is me. My job is the message that God has given me to try to carry to the staff here, the clients in that building, you all, if you show up here, whatever y'all do, my wife, my kids, that's my job. My job is not to go correct your behavior. It's just not my job. So it's, if you come to me and you lean into me, I got somebody said the other day, it's like, why do you work with these people that everybody almost disrespects in the industry? Because I work with some people that are on the like shady gray line. It's because I want to bring them back to that kid, that Ty that's sitting on the chair that's innocent, got into this for the right reason and got distracted. That's why I do it. There's no fee to the person there. I want to help them move the line back. Now, whether they do or not, that's on them. But I have no issue being pointed out for surrounding myself with those people because there's a reason why I'm meeting that person where they're at. And it doesn't make me ashamed of that. So it's like, how can you go out in this industry and lean against the ones in your head? You know who I'm talking about. We all have them, of those programs, those people. What if you showed up in their life and you ministered to them in some way? You don't outright have to say, hey, have you ever been saved? You know, that kind of thing. But what if you just spent time going to their events and you were a coffee bean? You were somebody that showed up and just tried to create a different environment and change those people. Some will, some won't. But that's my challenge to you guys today. When you leave, remember this, the most powerfully positioned person we're able to help is the person we used to be. So all the stuff you've been through, you can help that person wherever they're at. And I have been through not just the addiction side, but the corporate lures of all the pieces that come with that, and how do you maintain yourself and feel good about who you are as you battle that stuff. And so for me, it's like, I feel like my message in ministry right now is to help those folks. Because imagine if I go help one operator change the way they show up and why they're doing what they're doing, how many hundreds of people does that get impact? Because there's no way we stop that from happening in this industry. No way. You're going to go to bad providers. It's just going to happen. But what if everybody in this room went to 10 providers this year and you tried to have a positive impact on those 10 providers? Then those 10 went to the next 10 and so on. In 7 years, 1 million providers would have gotten impact. So you can't sit in this room and say that your voice, your ministry, your mission doesn't matter, because it can start with one of us, and we can go make a change with those 10 and so on. Thank you, guys.
I appreciate you so much, my friend. Thank you for sharing that. And also for what you do and who you are in our industry and just being that voice. I'm encouraged by it. I know one of the turning points for me in my recovery was when my sponsor let me know it's not other people's responsibility to understand you or why you do the things you do. It's giving you too much power. And I do think that watching that video, I was reflecting on this a couple days ago, actually, because I have a pastor friend. He likes to write poems, and he's got this line in one of his poems where he says, "The storm maker has brought me here." Right. And I wrestle with that every now and then, but then I remember that if it wasn't for all the things that I've done and were done to me, then I wouldn't be in the position that I'm in to then be there for others, right? So don't give up the crushing, as the phrase that he used. God uses all that for what he's up to. And he's up to way more things than I could ever comprehend. I just got to be in the moment and be in a position to be used, right? So thank you so much, brother.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Does anybody have anything else? Bruce is joining. Bruce, do you want to tell people who you are? No? Okay. If you want to get to know Bruce, he's over there. Thank you so much.